of course, there's new outrage taking place, and again, it is directed towards President Trump and those darn taxes he barely paid. I mean, I mean, most of this stuff is completely. I think everyone already knew the guy was a con man, a bad business guy, and yeah, he avoided paying a lot of taxes. The one aspect that a lot of the corporate media loves to leave out is this is far from unique. this is this is like tax avoidance 101, which is reserved for a small class within our society. So how adorable and cute it is to hear. Um, I mean, first off, the stupid talking points where you get people that say, "Oh, it was very smart." No, it's not. To me, it's first off, these are things that were lobbied for, that were brought through Congress. There's no unique behavior taking place when rich people avoid taxes. Just as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed, you know who lobbied a lot of that? Companies. Yes, a lot of companies, corporations. There were donations made. It is a corrupt system. So tax avoidance is not something unique or makes a business person smart or any of those sort of things. The loopholes were created by the people that lobby Congress to create the loopholes. So that's why a lot of people are able to hire lawyers they're capable of finding the loopholes and figuring out these things that are deemed controversial that he was claiming as deductions are legal. So if there's a real outrage, we should have and more outrage towards the policy, not the person, which would be more effective. But yeah, you'll get, of course, shameless Democrats who act as if they have no power over these things, even though the Bush tax cuts was not a single party passage. Yes, senators like out of California, Feinstein voted for those in 2001. Didn't even get 60 votes, rammed it through reconciliation. So the party that's basically complaining about it is also a party that was complicit, just as they are complicit with a lot of other things. That's why they much rather make this more about Trump rather than public policy. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017, which a lot of Democrats railed against and are, saying that they want to change it. They do not want to do a repeal. They just want to reform it. Essentially, leave some things the same, raise a few things, tinker around the edges. Ultimately, it's still going to be a tax cut that's in place. Kind of like during the Obama years, a lot of the Bush tax cuts that were supposed to sunset, that was the total, that was the fiscal cliff or whatever they called it, whatever cute name media rolled around and called it, to basically detach it from actual policy and make it more of a scare tactic, when quite frankly a lot of people like middle class people probably were not going to be negatively affected. But yeah, under the Obama years, 2012, they took those sunset provisions that were supposed to, because you can only do so much, kind of like in the Republican tax bill, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. There's sunset provision in there. It came up, and a lot of those tax cuts were going to expire. What did they do? They made 94% of them permanent, and they tinkered around the edges and raised a few things up here and there, and that's really it. It's it's something that no one, that they're going to delve into it right now and associate all these things with Trump as if he's the only like probably the same person that did his taxes did other rich people's taxes too, and probably applied the same techniques. So it's not, to make it seem like it's a Trump thing as opposed to an actual public policy thing. It's just, again, how the media just kind of stupefies everyone when it comes to these important subjects. When it, and I mean, they still even bring up the fact, which really is to the left of me. Wealth tax is actually pretty popular. I mean, Congress can just raise taxes. I mean, it's a pretty popular thing. Um, but Literally 64% strongly or somewhat agree that the very rich should contribute an extra share of their total wealth each year to support public programs. Results were similar across gender, race, and household income. While support among Democrats was stronger at 77%, a majority of Republicans, 53%, also agreed with that. They probably agree more today than they did before. And this was a few months ago. So, and yeah, this is literally about the wealth tax, which to me is to some degree a bit controversial, but the underlying realistic outcome of this should be that yes, we should be raising taxes, it's specifically for corporations who got a 14% tax cut in the tax cut in Jobs Act, who only contributed $230 billion in revenue out of our near $4 trillion general fund. That is egregious because also they did corporate buybacks at nearly $800 billion, which was distributed to more of the upper income people. So it is a literal grift that takes place. And he ain't the only grifter in town. So I would hope this debate actually goes on to be a bit more specific about what Congress can do, because they can do more than tweet about this. Shoot, the House can propose a bill right now and let the American people know where they stand on taxes. But no one's going to do that. They much rather make it about Trump, exclude themselves from the conversation. People in power literally excluding themselves as if they have no power. And that's pretty much going to be the end of it. And that's unfortunate because, public policy is literally supposed to be their job. And the corporate media really should delve into this on a more specific level, related to policy as opposed to this completely brainless anti-Trump rhetoric that just comes from them and their total self-righteousness. Because a lot of them probably do the exact same. I would not be surprised if Trump's lawyer, probably out of New York, is like the same person that works on a bunch of these people's taxes as well. And they're using the same loopholes and deductions. But since they're a never Trumper, I guess for some reason they claim moral superiority and they're above the fray when they're probably doing the exact same thing.